In the Know, a radio program talking to the newsmakers in Ogle, Lee, DeKalb counties and beyond, keeping you in the know. Here's your host, Charles Van Horn.
And good morning. In the Know gets underway, and our monthly visit with Rochelle Mayor John Burroughs. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing today?
Doing great. Couple of big things to talk about, of course, as we close out February. Next month, I believe you've got a State of a City address, right?
Yes, we do that every year to try and bring people up to speed with what's going on in the city over the past year, and kind of what we're looking towards for the next year coming up.
Now, do you start that off with an icebreaker with like a bad party joke?
No, probably not.
I had suggestions for you. I was going to give you a couple of good ones.
I'm sure you do.
A guy walks into a dentist office. No. So a lot of things have happened in the last month. Exciting news about the water tower, choosing the artwork for that. That's caused some controversy online. We won't get too deep into it, but the graphics that were chosen were shown in black and white, and people were really wanting purple.
Yeah, I think I haven't talked to Jenny personally on that, but I did see that she had responded this morning that the overwhelming majority wanted the purple and white or purple on the white tower, and I think the option one, I believe, is the one that was overwhelmingly chosen online. I think it was 2,700 votes or something.
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot.
People are passionate about that water tower.
Absolutely.
And it's great to see people have pride in the city and in the community.
Absolutely. It's just unfortunate that, sometimes the comments made are directed back more of a personal nature. And, that wasn't the intent of the city at all, or Jenny, for that matter, to put that out there. I think it says a lot that, we try to get the community involved, and we don't like to have to be reprimanded for something we're trying to help everybody with.
It is fun to occasionally take a quick jab at public officials, because that's what they're there for. Sometimes you just got to roll and take it. Other things going on, the downtown Rochelle area on the National Register of Historic Places. I know there's some community get-togethers going to be happening to help talk about that. That's going to be on the way. And how great is it to have a downtown that people can sit back and appreciate?
Well, and that's you're exactly right. We've been very blessed to be able to receive this grant from the state of Illinois for the downtown projects. For the longest time, we've talked about public restrooms, some of the other things that we need. We saw during COVID, a lot of times when we had street closures and we allowed people to gather outdoors. Back in the day, there was I think it was called Wine on Lincoln or something, and people would they'd block off that 400 block of Lincoln Highway, and it was kind of nice to be able to have folks be able to gather. And people we saw during the COVID, in the pandemic, we saw that people really enjoy the gathering spots. So we just had a meeting yesterday. We have a committee made up of several folks that are involved with the decision-making or idea, fact-finding mission of how do we want to spend that money on the restrooms. So the plan, we've kind of narrowed it down to somewhat, and it's not finalized yet, I'll be very clear. However, everybody was kind of the same opinion. The structure would be on the north end of the existing parking lot, north of where the former gazebo was, and we would make that a grass area from the north end all the way to the south end of where the gazebo was to have an outdoor setting. It'll have, the plan shows like 6 restrooms, storage area for tables and chairs and such that we use for the festivals, and then would include a band show. Kind of a gazebo, half of a gazebo type affair that would have a stage and a covered area. It's going to be a pretty elaborate thing when it's done, and once again that'll create a gathering spot for folks to gather for various festivals.
That'll be a great time. Any bands you're looking forward to seeing on that stage?
We'd love to see some Alan Jackson and some other names, but I'm sure we'll probably stick with our local folks.
You can see, maybe they'll be in the price range to see on that.
You never know.
Rochelle Mayor John Burroughs hanging out with us this morning, always talking about things happening in and around the city of Rochelle and in the county as well, because obviously what happens in the county happens in the city. Rochelle is one of the larger population centers, obviously in Ogle County, and there is a question coming up on the ballot with the 1% sales tax. And that is a hot button issue for some residents. It doesn't necessarily affect the city in every facet, but that $1 or excuse me, that 1% sales tax will affect everybody who does commerce on certain goods. Do you have a say on that, an opinion on that, or something you want to let residents know about what that 1% sales tax means?
Well, I think one of the things that is probably being looked at is that, the state of Illinois, and I can't speak for the school district, but the state of Illinois has mandated several programs for which they don't offer any funding. It's unfunded mandates. And, that's tough on our school systems. And for us locally, the grade school district is a much smaller district than the high school. So, they're affected. And, I don't really have a position on it at this point other than to say that I kind of get up where they're coming from. And there's so much more involved than I can comment on because, the school board works very diligently at every meeting to try and, stay within their budget, provide all the things they have to provide. And once again, if you think that the water tower issue was volatile, you start talking about the possibility, and they've done this in the past, where they talked about maybe having to change some programming or cut some programs. That's extremely volatile. So I respect the school board for their decisions. I know they've looked into it, all the school boards, and and that's a non-paid position. They're doing it because they care about the community.
Yeah.
And so I trust that they've looked into it and they see that this is kind of a one way of making it work for the things that they need within the school district. So I'm not involved in that deep weeds part of the school district, so I can't really comment, but I get it.
Yeah, and it will affect, some commerce. Everything will have to go up a little bit on some retail purchases and the like, and that's where a lot of people are getting, as you say, they get a little grumpy on things like that. When, of course, the other side of the coin is you have to fund some of these things in the schools. And, of course, nobody wants to see cuts to athletics or to band or to the arts. They always go after those. They never go after algebra. And I kind of wish maybe these would be a little better off. Maybe people would be like okay with it if they say, well, look, we're just going to cut algebra. I'd be thrilled if I were a kid. In fact, maybe if students are out there listening at 6 something in the morning, which they're not on a Sunday, but if they were, you could start a campaign as a teenager saying cut algebra will be okay. That might work out better.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to all of us in elected positions, whether it's school board, city, county, whatever. We all have to make some decisions sometimes that are maybe for the best interest of who we're representing. But however, it may not be seen that way by everyone. So, as back to my example of the water tower issue, we were trying to do the best that we thought we could and give everyone an opportunity, and they did that. A lot of people voted, and we take that into account. And a couple of comments were made that the city's going to do what they want anyway. That's not true.
Yeah.
I openly will say that's not true. Transparency and keeping the community involved has been extremely important to all of us.
And besides the fact, if you don't like what's painted on the water tower, going up to do that yourself to fix it is dangerous and vandalism.
and illegal.
And illegal. And it's a long way down.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Mayor John Burroughs joining us this morning. A big deal from IDOT was announced, giving new vehicles to a bunch of area transportation systems. They were awarded grant money to purchase new accessible vehicles, which was a big bonus to many of these organizations, including some locally here in town.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's being able to be ADA compliant, and some of these organizations, as we came through the pandemic, and many of these 501c3 groups have lost funding.
Yeah.
So it definitely changed what they can and can't have the ability to do. So, yeah, and hopefully those vehicles will not all of a sudden all be electric. We in the city are very pro green energy and renewable energies, but you have to take it in a kind of a methodical approach so that you're prepared for it. Because to be quite honest, they've openly said that our system, and when I say our system, I'm talking about everything through the state, our grid that they talk about is not set up if everything went electric, all electric. We're not set up to handle that yet.
Yeah.
So, it takes a little bit of a methodical approach to, I was listening to a town hall meeting that our state representative Brad Fritz and his cohort Ryan from the other district, they were talking about last night about electric vehicles, and it was very interesting. It's a great idea, but we also have to think about if we do that, what are the consequences of that? And one of the things that Brad just proposed or worked on a bill for a sticker on the back of any electric vehicle, so our fire personnel, EMTs and such, that they know when it's an electric vehicle, because they changed the license plating.
Yeah.
It used to be they were all EL on the end. Well, they run out of numbers, so they're proposing a sticker on the back of those vehicles so our emergency personnel knows when it's an electric vehicle, because these fires that erupt in an electric vehicle are much more volatile, and I'm no expert on fire, but according to what they said last night, the fumes and stuff can be much more volatile to a firefighter than or the personnel rescuing somebody out of a car, much more volatile than what we're used to in normal car fire.
Yeah, and it's good to keep firefighters and emergency first responders in mind so that they are aware of what they're dealing with when they walk up to a car, especially because all the cars sort of look kind of roundish these days.
It's easier to tell when you come up to the front because there's no radiator.
Yeah.
But if you're coming up to a vehicle from behind, you really don't know.
Can't see that tailpipe. You don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
Speaking of transportation, Leogal Transportation System, they were awarded, I believe, 6 vehicles from this new state program. And that's great that IDOT is getting involved, again, providing for ways to get people around who may not have the means. But there might be something coming for Rochelle as well.
Yeah, we had a meeting several days back with the LOTS group, Leogal Transportation System, and we're going to cooperate wholeheartedly with them to provide information. They're doing a feasibility study to find out if we can, in fact, have a set route, designated route for a bus route within Rochelle. I think it's a great idea. One of the things that LOTS does that I was not aware of is they can actually contract with companies. They're contracted, for example, with Crest Foods in Ashton, and I can't tell you the total number of rides they gave. They talked about it in a meeting I was at, but they actually can contract with that business to actually give rides to their employees, because not only is the workforce an issue, sometimes it's an issue if somebody doesn't have a vehicle.
Yeah.
We all take for granted that we hop in our car and go to work, but then not everybody has that luxury. So I'm very excited to see what the feasibility study comes back for Rochelle, and I'm hopeful we can see a designated route.
Well, there would be nothing worse than maybe a bunch of folks who carpool and one person with the car can't make it that day.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things they're going to work on is trying to get, right now they currently do first and second shift transportation to the second shift at Crest Foods, and I think they talked in this meeting about their hope is they can grow to the point they could do first, second, and third shift routes, because we do have second and third shifts here in Rochelle.
And that would be great. Again, public transportation, especially in an economy that's growing. You have people of all different income levels, all trying to work hard, work those hours to make that dollar and move up in the positions they have. And let's be realistic. Illinois, being an at-will state, attendance is very important in order to keep your position. And anything that the community can do to help make sure that people can get to where they're going will help keep those jobs secure and definitely help keep businesses in the area.
Absolutely. And when you talk about workforce, that transportation can play into that as well. So, one of the things they talked about is the potential of having bike racks on the buses as well.
Yeah.
So that if somebody rides their bike to work and maybe the weather turns bad or whatever, they can put the bike on the rack and get a ride home without, because a lot of folks are doing that. They're riding bikes and such. And unfortunately, in the middle of January, the bikes is really not a conducive way to travel.
It's not fun. No, that's for sure. Mayor John Burrows of Rochelle hanging out with us this morning here in the know, as we do every week. We look forward to seeing you again next month. State of the City address. What date is that going to be this year? Do you know offhand?
I don't. It's March. I want to say it's March 5th or something like that. It's in a couple weeks, a little over 2 weeks away. But there's going to be a lot of good information on that.
Any big surprises? Any spoilers?
No, nothing I want to give away yet. But yeah, I'm in closing, I'll just say I'm very proud of our team that, through all the departments and stuff over the past 12 months. It's been a great year for Rochelle to continue to grow and work our way towards, you not only have to sustain, but you have to thrive and grow. And we've proven that even in past history, Rochelle's always had the foresight to plan for the future. And I'm very proud of that.
We look forward to hearing from you next month. You have a great day.
Thank you very much. And you too.
Thank you for listening to this week's In the Know. The program returns next week at this time with another great conversation with someone from your community.